So with that,
Yeah.
in case anyone hasn't seen, and we do have some just audio listeners, let's run through the draft class, run through the grades, and then see if we all agree. This is what the Browns 2026 draft class looks like in totality. Spencer Fano went number 9. Casey Concepcion went 24. Denzel Boston at 39. mcneil-warren, the safety from Toledo, went at 58. They traded up to get him. Austin Barber, the offensive tackle from Florida, was the 86th pick. Parker Brailsford, the center from Alabama, the 146th pick. Justin Jefferson, the linebacker from Bama, went at 149.
The other one.
No, we got to get him
on
a nickname.
Bama. It's the defensive Justin Jefferson. Don't get them confused. Joe Royer, a tight end from Cincinnati, at 170. Taylon Green, the super athletic quarterback out of Arkansas, was the Browns pick in the 6th round at 182. And then Carson Ryan, another tight end, at 248. That's the full draft class. I surveyed all the mock draft grades or post-draft grades. This is how the Browns consensus kind of looked. ESPN had them at an A, NFL.com at an A-, CBS at an A, PFF and The Ringer at an A+, Yahoo gave them an A, and Dane Brugler gave them the ranking of the number one
last time that
overall
Yeah, right.
draft class.
By the way, I was looking at the bottom. I'm like, who's Theringer?
And that's, by the way, there's no space in The Ringer. That's right.
Yeah.
They don't have a space in their name, so it's not The Ringer.
No,
It
that's
is
how. Yeah,
The Ringer,
I know.
yes.
Right.
And then Dane Brugler, as I said, gave him had
number
the number one.
Number
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm not used to this.
Well, they had good grades last year,
No,
too.
I know they did. But what I'm saying is, like, the Browns nailing the draft, it's a 2-year pattern.
Yeah.
But prior to that, when did we ever say that?
No.
Never.
And it's on paper. We got to be, make sure we talk
Yeah,
about
you
that.
win it on grass.
I got to say, this is the most optimistic I've been in a Browns draft ever since I've been here.
Even more than last year.
Even more than last
Oh,
year,
wow.
because I think they got what appear to be good players and addressed some real important positions of need. Now, I say addressed, not filled, because they're not filled until the guys prove they can play.
You're right.
But on paper, which is all we have right now, you tripled down on the offensive line. You doubled down at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And those have, besides quarterback, and we'll see, obviously we knew they weren't going to do anything at quarterback, at least early. Those were the positions where they had the most holes. And on paper, the upgrade from where they were at the end of last year to now, both on the offensive line, including free agency and wide receiver, is pretty significant. Again, it's all on paper until they play, but that's all we got right now. So I'll give Andrew Berry credit. I like it. Seems like everything they did seems like smart picks across the board.
The pick that really hit was the Emmanuel McNeil-Warren pick. Because
He was supposed to be gone much earlier.
they had, I had people saying, guys, he's not, draft scouts would say, hey, he's not that far behind Caleb Downs in terms of how we feel about him as a prospect.
Yeah.
I thought there was no chance at all that they would get him. I thought he'd be gone in the first round.
I thought he'd be gone late second.
Late second,
at latest.
At best. Yeah. Now, when you look at it, they not only got better, significantly better at wide receiver, they also got better, and they, like you said, Bull, they tripled down on offensive line. But then they also went and addressed a need where if you would say there was a weakness, you would say, okay, we have Ronnie Hickman. Can we upgrade back there?
Yeah.
And theoretically, this is an upgrade from that.
Well, plus Hickman and Delpit are going to be free agents at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So you feel that need, and then the second thing I think with the offensive line, if there was one complaint or one critique on Andrew Berry in terms of the offensive line was, when you go out and get some of these guys like Titus Howard and you go get Eldon Jenkins, a lot of those guys are older and they've had some injury concerns, right? So not only he says, okay, well, cool, I'll address it in free agency, but he then goes get Spencer Fano. He then gets Austin, what's his last name?
Royer?
Austin Barber.
Austin Barber.
Barber, yeah.
And then you also go get another center. So you got versatility, you got younger, and you bolstered the area where you were most concerned about. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. I don't. To me, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And I can't remember the last time I literally watched the draft and be like, wow, I've heard of that guy. Wow, I've heard of that guy.
Even some of our later picks.
Yeah, that guy. The Browns would traditionally draft, and you'd be like,
Who? Yeah, what we got? You start doing your homework. Who's
Well,
this guy?
You immediately start typing, trying to find YouTube videos of the guy
Yeah.
because you didn't know who he is.
Yeah, that didn't happen this year.
No.
I think for me the distinction was we talked about last year. We knew what our areas of weakness were, and they didn't go that route at all. Now they
Right.
hit a home run, but maybe they had a 2-year plan. Maybe, as Jason was saying all along, going
Yeah.
into the draft, they knew that what it was. And they said, look, let's low-key backfill some areas that we think we can, they had a chance to take Schlesinger. It was a kind of a shock pick. They took him, he hit. Fannin, he hit. All of these picks hit. I think this year, because they filled some major needs last year, they knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was offensive tackle in particular, but offensive line.
Yeah.
And it was wide receiver. And I liked your analogy. Triple down on the line, double down on the wide receiver. I love the trading, by the way. I mean, we need a nickname, Trader AB.
Yeah.
We need some kind of a nickname for this
Right.
guy because I thought they
Yeah.
were all smart and purposeful. Sometimes it feels like teams make trades and you're like, what did they do that for?
Yeah, well, the first trade, you got the guy you wanted anyway.
Yes, which was beautiful.
Yeah,
and you picked up picks.
Right, you got that 74th pick or whatever it was. I mean, so you got another good player, which they did in the third round, and you got the exact same player you wanted at 6, at 9. Now,
Yes.
I guess we don't know that with 100% certainty, but it seems like that was the case.
Right.
And they were just smart with their they had all those draft picks kind of bundled together at the beginning of, what was it, the 4th round?
Yep.
140 to 150.
Right,
area.
they had like
four
4 picks. And so they used that wisely. They went up and got guys when they needed to. They went down when they didn't need to feel
Right.
desperate to get somebody.
Right.
It was a really, again, on paper, it was a really smart. He played it real smart.
I think he did too.
Yeah.
Has anybody read any negative reviews of the draft? I looked for
None.
them.
I
actually
couldn't see
looked
none.
for
The
negative
lowest
reviews.
grade I saw from anyone was a B+, and it was from a site that I had never heard of.
Okay.
So the lowest.
All of
lowest
your
was a B+.
go-to websites, they all
Yeah.
had them at an A or an A+, A- maybe. The one thing I want to ask you guys about, because first of all, are you good with the tackle they took?
Yes.
Okay, because I know we liked him, but there were other
Yeah.
guys that we had talked about that, the kid from Alabama, maybe we liked him more. Clearly they
Yeah.
thought that maybe the weight was an issue. There was some sort of
Yeah.
an issue there. I was good with the tackle.
Yeah.
But
and Joe Thomas and Sean King, who I spoke to, both liked Freeling the most.
yeah,
went
because
later
there
in
were
the
some
first
guys that were higher on him.
I think there was some initial disappointment with him being the selection, and as the days and the drafts went by, I think the whole picture came together,
Right,
and then everybody
right.
got on
I have a
board
theory
with it.
on that, by the way.
on
I think
the tackle.
I think the initial reaction to them taking Fano as a bit of a disappointment was they wanted Tate or Tyson.
Yeah.
They wanted that receiver
Right.
at 6. But
Yeah.
then when you fast forward and look back, bird's eye view of the draft, and you get Concepcion at 24.
And Boston.
And Denzel Boston at 39. And mcneil-warren at 58, who were all in consideration. Andrew Berry said, those were the 3 names we were talking about at 24. We went with KC and ended up getting their other 2 guys anyway.
Which is stunning.
So I think the initial disappointment bowl was, hey, we wanted Tate or Tyson up front. You don't
Yeah, I
get
think that
those
was
2.
part of it.
And then when you look back at it, you still got 2 of the top 5 or 6 receivers in the class. And then you understand, okay, they prioritized tackle first. They wanted their choice of offensive lineman. And in their words, or in their actions, they thought the gap between Fano and the other tackles was bigger than the gap between Tate, Tyson, and the other receivers.
Did
Or they would
anybody-
have operated differently.
Did anybody see?
Well, they didn't have an option of those guys, Mike.
Well, yeah,
But they'd have to
went
trade
off the
back from
board.
6. They could have
Yeah.
took Tyson.
Yeah, they
At
could've-
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 6.
Yeah.
Fano, the reason I look back at it and said, okay, I like this pick, is there's a couple of clips on YouTube of him talking to Warhop, and he's sitting down inside the room when he went on his visit, and he's having him go over some tape and said, okay, explain this to me, what you guys are doing, and he points it in the clicker. He says, right here, you're kind of out of that play. He said, but I'm gonna tell you what, athletically, you got beat at the initial attack, but I ain't seen nobody that really put themselves back in contention to get back into the play with your athleticism. He's like, that's very rare for a guy to be outflanked like that, but still be able to make the block after losing initially. And the second thing I think that really got me was, I think the Cleveland Browns are legitimately trying to change the dog mentality, no pun intended. And the thing that I got so excited about was when Fano said, there's nothing like controlling a man another grown man off the line of scrimmage and imposing your will on him, and he's trying to fight off you, and he's ain't nothing doing. I said, that is what I like. I love the mentality of being like, hey, I love the battle, the fight. You know, it's hand-to-hand combat intimately. And this guy's talking about the enjoyment of moving another grown man outside of his will. I said, I like you sold me.
Let's talk to him 2 weeks into camp. See how it's going against Myles Garrett.
He's like, I don't think he's gonna be moving him against his will.
He hasn't seen anybody quite like Myles Garrett before.
And Myles has a way of doing that, right?
If you think about it, I've never really thought this way or talked about this, but when you think about how do you want to indoctrinate an offensive lineman to the life in the NFL? Well, you put him against Myles Garrett, 30 reps a day in training camp.
It's all easier from there.
And they got to come to you after practice. Hey, it's okay.
They're not all like that.
It's okay.
Exactly. This happens to everybody.
I think, when you look at Fano from, just reading what those in the know had to say over the last couple of days, I think part of the reason people like Carnell Tate, not just because of the Ohio State, where he felt like a safe pick too, because it felt like he had a high floor. Seems like the same thing is in the case with Fano as well. Very safe floor. I think the question with him is ultimately, is he big enough to play left tackle?
That would be a question mark. I think it was a question mark going in. He's got to get bigger. He's got to get stronger. Typically, you can at his age.
Right. But everybody seems to think, like, worst case scenario, he'll be a very good guard for a long time. Yeah. Now, you draft him at 9, you expect him to be a tackle. But if the worst case scenario is he's a very good guard for a long time,
you're good.
You could live with it.
Let me ask about the quarterback position. Obviously, to me, that was the most intriguing, I think, pick.
Yeah.
It was the one that made, kind of raised my eyebrows the most. There were some pretty good quarterbacks still on the board, some named quarterbacks that were still there. That
Sean King says they all stink.
They must. I mean, because 32 teams said they all stink.
Yeah.
But I was just, to me, the methodology, the mindset behind this pick is very interesting. And I know up front you could say he's going to be a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And of course that's what you're going to say because Taylor Green probably made it very clear that's the position he wanted to play. But obviously with his athleticism and the things that he can do, I don't think anybody expects him to come in and compete for the starting quarterback job.
No.
So I wouldn't be shocked if at some point they said, you know what, let's give it a shot at wide receiver. I mean, you've got a diverse player here.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Swiss Army knife. And the threat, this is what I love, you can build an offensive package for him like the Saints did for Hill, where it's specific, either it's RPOs or it's you need something where you need an athletic quarterback to sprint out and maybe get a couple yards.
Yeah,
that's gonna blow some defensive coordinators' minds if he comes in there after Shedeur or whoever the starter is.
I just like the profile, man. Like I like if you take a look at what you use a 3rd round pick on Dylan Gabriel, right? You use a 6th round pick on this guy, and look at the measurable. Look at the differences. The 6'5", 6'6". 4'3", the arm strength, the talent, his mobility, and it's the versatility that you're looking for. Like at the end of the day, even if you decided, okay, I want to make our team overall better. Is this kid have a bigger upside than Dylan Gabriel? Sure. So let's see if he can develop. Let's see.
That doesn't say much.
No, but Dylan Gabriel's like he's certainly going to. He's not on this roster.
I mean,
August.
I mean,
I don't think there's a chance.
He'll be here. I assume he'll be here for
training camp.
But he's not making the roster.
They're not keeping 4 quarterbacks
unless guys get hurt.
Right.
So, but at least this is to me also it screams lottery ticket because Jalen Hurts, if you'd have told me Jalen Hurts was going to be a Super Bowl quarterback, I'd have told you you're lying. Especially going back.
He was better than this guy.
I mean, he was, but he also did get benched for Tua, and he had to bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
And look, I look at this right here, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what you got. And like Jay said, the versatility of, okay, well, now instead of bringing tight ends to run quarterback sneaks like we usually do, that's why we put this guy in who has some legitimate opportunity to throw the football as well.
He ran a 4.3 something.
4.37.
He ran a 4.37 unofficial. He jumped higher than DK Metcalf. He's DK Metcalf that plays quarterback.
He's insane. Zach said at the Senior Bowl or I can't remember if it was Senior Bowl or Combine. He goes, he looked like Myles Garrett out there, but he runs 4.38. the guy's a freak. He's obviously if he's the starting quarterback for the Browns this year, that's a problem.
Yeah, we're in trouble. Then.
That's a problem. It means everybody got hurt again. But 100% with you guys. Use him as a gadget player. Try to develop him as a quarterback. Who the heck knows? He's a long shot, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been drafted in the 6th round. Who the heck knows down the line? But
those measurables and that athleticism, playing in the Southeastern Conference, he had some moments. I watched some of their games this year, and he had some moments. So he's a good guy to have on your roster.
I'd rather draft a guy like that in the 6th round than some more typical quarterback who's a thrower. You know, like
Pavia, is that his name?
Oh yeah, that guy went undrafted.
Didn't even get selected.
He's going to Ravens on a camp invite.
This is not the 60-second trivia question, but I'll give you a 20-second trivia. Pavia is the first Heisman finalist to not get drafted since
ever.
Not true.
No, it's happened before.
Charlie Ward.
No.
More recent.
Yeah, it was the Northern Illinois kid, Jordan.
Nailed it. Jordan Lynch.
Jordan Lynch. Yeah.
Maction, baby.
That was crazy.